This is the One Girl Revolution podcast, a podcast that highlights the stories of world-changing women and girls across the country. We hope that these stories inspire you, but even more so, we hope that these stories help you to see your own value, your purpose, and your power to change the world through your life. Every woman and girl is a One Girl Revolution. Welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast. It's your girl, Kate, here. On this week's episode of the One Girl Revolution podcast, we are so honored to welcome Michelle Scerbo, founder of Wish Upon a Teen, and Nancy Sovran, the organization's executive director. Two incredible women who are bringing hope, comfort, and joy to teens facing serious medical conditions. Wish Upon a Teen is a nonprofit organization that provides creative, social, and emotional support to teenagers who are living with complex medical challenges. Michelle founded the organization after years of working in adolescent development and recognizing how underserved this age demographic was, especially in hospital settings. While many programs focus on younger children, Michelle recognized that teens are often overlooked and not given the same opportunities and care, so she decided to change that. From hospital room makeovers and personalized gifts to inclusive prom experiences and special outings, Wish Upon a Teen helps teens feel seen, celebrated, and empowered, even during the most difficult times of their lives. Their signature Design My Room program transforms sterile hospital rooms into personalized sanctuaries that reflect each teen's unique personality and style, offering comfort, control, and a sense of home during extended hospital stays. In this episode, Michelle and Nancy share how Wish Upon a Teen was born, how it's grown, and the deeply moving stories that fuel their mission every day. They talk about the importance of empowering teens, creating joy in the midst of hardship, and why it's so important to care for the whole person, not just their medical condition. This conversation is full of heart, purpose, and inspiration, and it's a powerful reminder that even in the face of great challenges, love, creativity, and human connection can make all the difference. Listen to this powerful episode to hear how Michelle, Nancy, and their incredible team are helping teens heal, grow, and thrive. Here's my conversation with Michelle and Nancy. Nancy and Michelle, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Thanks for having us.
I am so excited to have you both on. Nancy, you reached out to me on Instagram, but what's so interesting is I've been following your work for so long, it feels like. And it just was providential that you reached out. And then I'm so grateful that Michelle was willing to come on, because these have become some of my favorite episodes where we have both the founder and the executive director on, because it kind of gives people, I guess, kind of two sides to the story, or just like different perspectives on the great work that you're doing. And so I'm so excited to have you both on. I'm so excited to talk about Wish Upon a Teen. But before we get into that, I always love to kind of hear a little bit about your own life story. And so I would love to just take a moment and rewind and hear a little bit about each of you, who you are, where you're from, and just a little bit about your stories. So maybe Michelle, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you so much again for having us. We're both very excited to be here. I was a child life specialist at UCLA. I did my internship in hematology oncology and ended up on the pediatric liver transplant team. And so through my work and love for kids, fast forwarding to meeting my ex-husband and starting a family, I was no longer in that space and really wanted to make sure that my love for kids in general and the work that I had done at UCLA, I was able to continue in some facet. And I also thought it was really important to raise my kids with the idea of that we always give back. So starting Wish Upon a Teen was kind of my way of bringing child life into the community on my terms. So bringing Wish Upon a Teen out into the community on my terms. And I had to find a way to make that work because I had 3 kids in 3.5 years. So I had small children really quickly and how I wanted that to look. And Wish Upon a Teen kind of became my 4th child. And so looking at what was missing out there already, and it was the work that I had done with teenagers in the hospital setting was always the hardest to get a buy-in with donors, with just even people coming to visit. When we would have volunteers come through, nobody ever wanted to go into the teens room. Nobody wanted to participate. The teens didn't want to participate in coming to a playroom type setting because it was geared towards the younger children. We did start to create some teen centers and things like that back then, but it really became sort of my focus. And even though I didn't have teenagers at the time, several of them had really drawn at my heartstrings. And so with that, kind of became this evolution of how can we bring something into the community that was really teen focused. And so with that piece of it and my child life background, I created Wish Upon a Teen. And it's just been, and to come full circle and be back in Los Angeles living and have had it grown so significantly, thanks to, in part, my partnership with Nancy, we're able to continue to grow it and bring all of these special programs, not only all over the country, but then some of these larger programs back to Los Angeles, where it really kind of started.
That's incredible. And I think it's so important for all of us to think about like different, I love talking about these different populations that are often forgotten about. And even like you shared, there are so many programs out there for kids, but then it's like teens kind of get overlooked sometimes. Or I think it's so incredible what you're doing. Was there a spark moment? I know you shared a little bit about, how I know it's multifaceted and there were multiple chapters to Wish Upon a Teen becoming something, but was there a spark moment or was there like something that happened that you were like, we're on to something. We need to start this nonprofit. This is what it's going to be. And this is what it's going to do. Or was it kind of like it just kind of fell together as you stepped forward?
A little of both, because I had some teenage boys that I worked with that were extremely poignant in my development of Wish Upon a Teen. Being part of the pediatric liver transplant team, we worked with a unique population here in Los Angeles with the fact that kids with liver issues a lot of times are born with a type of liver disease that affects them but doesn't necessarily take place in their bodies where they need the transplant until they're teenagers. So being drug exposed is one of the reasons that a teen might need a liver transplant. They were exposed to drugs prenatally, and they go through, life. But once they get to a certain age, now it's time, to need a transplant. And I had numerous boys with this scenario. And unfortunately, they were, coming from very difficult situations. And the statement that was made to me 25 years ago was, I'd rather die in the street with honor than die in a hospital bed. And that just has never left, ever, because you join gangs and other situations that are not healthy for you because you are so in need of companionship and family and just that whole bond that you go through life with, right? And when you don't have that, you find other ways to fulfill that in your world. And Wish Upon a Teen is all about, if my boys only would have known each other they were going through similar things. And whether you're going through a transplant or you're going through chemo or dialysis, you're in the hospital and you're a teenager. Well, that's your common denominator right there. And if they would have just connected with each other, maybe that statement would have never been said. And I've just tried to live and bring in any shape we can to these kids that are truly a lot of times forgotten because, the stigma of a teenager, oh, they're annoying. Oh, they're, so hard to deal with. Oh, this, that, whatever. They're not a cute little toddler. They're not your mother, so people just kind of look different ways. But that was the biggest moment in creating the program. We went through a lot of changes and figuring out over the first few years, how do we want this to look? Because I was also now raising children with special needs, but it was more cognitive. So my thought was, do we need to be able to incorporate that in? Because now I'm a mom of. But the organization evolved naturally. And then that's how Nancy and I met. And we've never looked back because her daughter was one of our room recipients. And so that's truly allowing the organization to grow and evolve in such a natural way that it brought two people that lived in the same city that didn't know each other. And and now we're in 78 hospitals and growing. So that's really kind of how it all started, was with one little comment from a teenage boy.
It's amazing. Well, and Nancy, I love that story too, because there are so many people in our own communities that I feel like, we have these experiences or something we go through in life and we've been living and running in the same circles, but then some life altering thing happens and it brings people together. And so I love that story for your relationship and how you first met. But Nancy, I would love to rewind with you and have you tell a little bit about your own story and your own journey. And then maybe you can get into that story of how you found out about Wish Upon a Teen and how you got
Absolutely.
involved.
I don't know how I start my journey. I'm a mom of nine, and our seventh daughter, Hope, uh, rightfully named, was born with spina bifida. She's had 119 surgeries, but the hardest moment was in 2012 when she went through a bone marrow transplant and she was critically ill at Mott Hospital. One day, the child life specialist came in and said, "Hey, I want to show you this referral form. What do you think about getting Hope's room decorated?" And I thought to myself, okay, I can't even think that way because Hope was so sick. And they call it the dog days of transplant because your counts are low, and it was just something we had never been through before. So we filled out the referral form, and they came and decorated her room and everything. She still has things left from there in her room, everything that she loves, Friends, High School Musical. And it was a moment. You can take all the medicine you want, and your child is getting everything that they give them, the medical establishment, but this act of designing her room was kind of a game changer for her. And it gave her the comfort of being home without being home, and it gave her, even though Hope is the most gregarious and you would love her, it gave her something to talk about with the nurses who came in the room. "Oh, you like Glee? Oh, I like Glee. What's your High School Musical? What's your favorite person?" And it just gave them this commonality that you may not even have known that you both liked it. And it gives them some control over their life in a very uncontrollable situation. So I decided, okay, this place made a huge difference on my child. I'm going to volunteer, because at the time I had taken a leave from my job and couldn't afford to donate. So I donated my time, which is worth a lot. And so I became a volunteer. And then Michelle, they called me and said, "Hey, would you like to interview for the community development specialist? Because we're in 6 hospitals currently and we want to grow." And I'm like, "Sure, I would love to." So I interviewed and then did that for about 6 months. And then the executive director at the time got married and moved out of town, and that position came open, and Michelle and the board asked me to join. And I haven't looked back since, I've been the executive director since 2014. So, and it grew, like Michelle said, we're in many hospitals across the United States. And I just spoke to a group yesterday at Marion High School. They're a local girls' high school, Catholic girls' high school, that have really taken on with my daughter Hope. She works there one day a week, and she was just in the high school musical play. And so they're raising money for their walkathon. So I love when teens are helping teens, kind of thing. So I told them, I said, I will always think of Wish Upon a Teen as that organization that saved my daughter's life, doing a very, I know it sounds, dramatic and so, I don't know what you can say, but it did. It saved her life, and it saves her life all the time, because, and my family too. I mean, they know what Wish Upon a Teen means. I mean, we eat, sleep and drink, drink Wish Upon a Teen. And so, like Robin Roberts had said at one time, make your mess your mission. And that's pretty much what, I've done because of what Wish Upon a Teen did for Hope. And it's just been wonderful.
Yeah, well, as somebody, it's actually like very personal listening to you talk about Wish Upon a Teen, because actually my father-in-law is in the hospital right now. And I was thinking about this conversation and thinking about the great work that you're doing. And Nancy, you sent me pictures the other day of one of the rooms that you decorated. And I just was reflecting on that, like being at the hospital, and it's so sterile, which I understand, right? Like they're trying to keep everybody healthy, but it can be such a sad and lonely place to be. And especially for teens, right? There's not
Oh
like
my
big
gosh,
community,
yes. Well,
and
this
if,
young boy that I did his room for on, what was the date? What was this week? He had just moved down from the PICU, and he was burned over 80% of his body. And he was in a wheelchair, so he was getting ready for PT. So I told him, I said, Braden, do you want to decorate with me, or do you want to be surprised? 99% of the time, they want to be surprised. And so he went to PT. So I wasn't going to be there when he got the reveal. We decorated his room, we put lights up, and I guess he was so excited when he came back. He was showing everybody, but his parents aren't there. So he's very alone a lot, and he's going through therapies, to learn how to walk again, because he was burned. And so it's one of, we've done over 3,300 rooms since they started doing, Design My Rooms. So it's pretty incredible in itself. And every story is a story, and it's a beautiful story. And there's a room I'm doing on Monday at Mott Hospital, and this girl I'll send it to you, Kate, on the back of her referral form wrote, no, she designed what she wants her room to look like. Okay,
wow.
I'm going to frame that because it's so beautiful. But she wants, lights here by the TV. And I know the rooms at Mott, like, because Hope was in there for a month or so. And she wants, little bookcase. She wants bookends. She wants this. She wants that. So I got her every single thing that she's drawn. And I can't wait to go on Monday. And I'm going to have her autograph the artwork. But, just to give them, that she was so, and she goes, at the end, she says, thank you for the opportunity. Oh, you know.
Wow. Well, I think we can all relate to this too, right? Like you've been in the hospital, different people have been in the
Right.
hospital, either visiting people or in the hospital themselves. But also I'm thinking about like my own bedroom. Like when I get a new piece of furniture or I decide to paint my room, it's like a breath of fresh air, right? You sleep better. You're like excited to like lay in your bed. And I just think about that with these teens, that it just
Mhm.
changes their perspective, and they're going through it, right? Whatever they're going through health wise, they're going through it. And just to have this beautiful space that they're spending most of their time in anyways, but it takes it from a hospital room to this beautified, I love that word, beautified, space that they're living in. Looking for stories of women who are changing the world? The One Girl Revolution podcast is your go-to for inspiration and empowerment. Subscribe today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, and never miss an episode. Let's celebrate the power of women together. Michelle, I would love for you, so people obviously can kind of put the pieces together, because we've been talking a little bit about the mission of Wish Upon a Teen, but for people that are listening, what is the mission of Wish Upon a Teen, and how does it kind of work?
Well, the mission is short and sweet. It's, making a difference one teen at a time. And it's turned over in the fact that we even get referrals from other teens in the hospital for someone they just met down the hall
Yeah.
to say, hey, you did my room. My new friend down the hall is going to be here for 3 months. Will you do his or her room? And so, again, it's helping one teen at a time. And whether that be, the kids at Marion High School, those teenagers helping other teenagers, it's really creating that community of
Mhm.
commonality that you're all teenagers and you're all going through something, whether
Right.
it's as big as a heart transplant or it's your boyfriend broke up with you, right? In teen world, they're the same. They're traumatic. They're overwhelming. I have a zit on my face. I'm going to die, right? When you're a teenager, it is all up here. Everything is heightened. Everything is out of control. I'm going to die today. Oh my God. But that's because their best friend isn't talking to them. Whereas someone else, I'm going in for a heart transplant. Oh my gosh, what does that look like? And again, it's just having this community base and realizing you all can support each other. You can all be there for each other and understanding that everything is a big deal and that is okay. And how can you take that big deal and turn it into you having control over that big deal? So what does that look like for you? Whether it's getting your port out today, going in for your first chemo, or ringing the bell because you're going home, or that your best friend isn't talking to you, because those things still exist, whether you've been diagnosed with a life-threatening illness or not. And, as another example of a girl who now graduated law school and is living her own life, when she was in receiving chemo, she had 500, friends on Facebook because Instagram didn't, exist back then. Well, when she went into the hospital, how many people came to visit her? Two? She's like, where are my 500 friends? So it's finding ways that everybody can help each other. And whether we're teenagers or adults, and what Nancy did, she says, I didn't have the money to support Wish Upon a Teen, but she had time. And that time, look at what it turned into years and years and years of helping kids all around the country. I think Wish Upon a Teen is so much bigger than just the designing a room. It's how can you get involved and how can you support one another in any shape, way, or form, because there's a million ways to support each other. And that's the bigger mission. And I think, finding what you're passionate about. And I always have said, whether you support Wish Upon a Teen or you support saving the dolphins or a tree, just get involved. And I think we all are in agreement, whether it's our board or Nancy and I, or, the parents of the teenagers or even the teenagers. Not all of the teenagers that we work with want to come back and support Wish Upon a Teen. They go off and do other things. But it's finding it, what is your passion, and honing in on it and building from there and giving back in whatever way you can.
Yeah, we talk a lot on this podcast about how throughout our lives we have time, talent, and treasure, but that sort of ebbs and flows. So, Nancy, I love that you were like, I didn't have money to donate, because I think that's a real thing that we all
Yeah.
experience at different points. But it's like, okay, I can give of my time, or whatever your talent is, like you can give of your time, talent, or treasure, and that ebbs and flows. And I think it's so important. Sometimes our time can be even more valuable, or just
Absolutely.
in the relationships that you have. And that's what I love about Wish Upon a Teen. And I know that's what it's become for you, Nancy. Like, it's a family, it's a community that now your family's a part of. And, these teens feel so supported, right, Nancy?
They do. They do. I, like Michelle said, I get texts from teens like, hey, Nancy, hey, Miss Sovran, my friend is waiting, in the hospital for, a transplant, or they just are starting their second round of chemo. I loved having my room done. Would you do the room? And so I said, I'll call the child life specialist. I'll, see if it's appropriate and I'll work on it. And, we just, I love the kids. The teenagers to me are some of the sweetest kids around. Like seriously, they're genuine, they're authentic. They're just trying to figure it all out. I mean, we all are, but they're really trying to figure it all out. And so when these kids, whether it's at Marion High School or Bloomfield Hills High School, whatever, and they're giving back and they see the impact, it changes them too. It changes their outlook, on life. And when they see our teens, we haven't touched on it, but we can touch on our prom whenever you want. But that's a huge thing where they.
Yeah, share about that. I would love for you to talk about the prom.
Well, I'll let Michelle start about
Okay.
how she got, how prom started with Emma, and then I'll chime in after that.
Great.
So this year will be the 14th year for prom. And 14 years ago, I just, we had an idea of how can we provide this space for kids that are too sick to go to their own prom, and create a safe space and allow them these same opportunities as, any other teenager. But when kids are sick, you have to think about, germs and, how many people are around. And they can't necessarily go from like we did, where you go to the salon and then later you go and get your nails done, or, you meet up with girlfriends and then you all meet up and get dressed and then you go to dinner and then the prom. So we had to get creative. And I think we partnered with the Ronald McDonald House in Detroit. We had it there, and I want to say there may have been 8 or 10 kids at our first prom. And it was so beautiful. They were able to, get their hair done and their makeup done. And we had had some dresses donated. And it was just this very small, intimate, they ate McDonald's because it was at the Ronald McDonald House, but they thought it was amazing because there was all these fries and all these burgers. And, it was just fabulous. But we had donations for flowers and it was so fun and intimate. And it allowed, I mean, the laughter that took place, you would have thought that there were 100 kids there, the smiles and everything that went on. But it was just this small group. And it was such a huge success that we're now 14 years later. And 1 or 2 of the girls tend to frequent every year from their original prom. They come back and they mentor and they visit kids, teenagers currently going through treatment, coming to prom. And I mean, we have kids that are status 1A on the transplant list coming to prom. We have kids that get respite hours, 2 hours that the doctors will sign release to allow them to leave with a parent or a staff member to go to prom. We've had kids whose fathers had never gone to their own prom that are that child's
Yep.
date. And unfortunately, that teenager passed after prom. And so to create those memories, not only the experiences for the teenagers that are going, but for the lifetime of memories for these family members, parents or siblings that got to see their child get ready or their sister or brother get ready, and the photos that live on for a lifetime has just been truly one of my favorite days of the year. And I know now it's become one of Nancy's favorite days of the year.
Oh yeah. There's
It-
something I wanted to read. I don't mean to interrupt, but
no.
a parent wrote something because I posted that we were looking for sponsors for prom, and her daughter came to prom. We had, we have our fashion bash that the Bloomfield Hills High School Project Prom girls put on, which is tonight at 5 o'clock. And then we have the Michigan Panthers football game after that with some kids. So it's I just love when it's busy like that and the kids get to, but I'll read and it will just reiterate what Michelle said. Let me see.
It's just really lovely when you hear a lot of this, or having Emma come back to prom or, things like that. So I love when Nancy gets these.
Mm-hmm. It's such an important thing for us to all remember too. Like when we have a positive experience, whether it be with an organization or a restaurant, Yelp reviews, all that kind of stuff. But like a lot of times people don't send like the positive commentary, and so we're all, I feel like sometimes like, okay, am I even making a difference? So I'm sure like, in the work that you're doing, and you're seeing a lot of the fruits of the work that you're doing on a daily basis. But to get a
Absolutely.
comment like this, and I don't even know, I'm going to be surprised.
I know.
I'm gonna share with you though.
Yeah.
I'll send you an email.
Yeah.
Madison came to our prom. She was 14 and she had lung disease. And it was her mom didn't think it would be her only prom. Well, she ended up dying 6 months later, like had a cardiac arrest during a routine heart cath. And so her mom wrote me a long note about what that meant to her. And she sent me a note this year that she was able to shop with her niece for her niece's high school prom and was just so grateful that she had that opportunity with Madison, even though
Wow.
Madison was so much younger and she was 14. But this is from Patrice. Her daughter Renaya died a couple years ago, a month after prom. She said, she loves when we post for prom. She goes, I so look forward to this post every year now. It puts a smile on my face to know because of you and your organization, Renaya was able to experience the excitement of preparing for prom. The smile on her face as she tried on one dress after another until she found the right one. I get that moment for her senior year this year. She would have been a senior this year, but she got that moment. So grateful for the memories and the pictures we're able to create in May of 2022. You and your family and Wish Upon a Teen crew will be, forever be in my heart.
It's so beautiful. I mean, these stories,
Mhm.
and I'm sure that, it's cool to also hear the stories about teens that you've worked with, whether they were in the hospital or they went to prom or whatever, however you were working with them, that they come back and they start working with you and giving back to other teens, or they
Mhm.
refer other teens. It's like it builds this family, right? I was going to say sisterhood, but like thinking about One Girl Revolution, it's like, no, but it builds this community. We all need community and support through our lives. And so it's just incredible. And also the families, right? The parents feel so supported and they see the change in their kids, right? I'm thinking about even the hospital rooms. I'm sure the parents,
Oh, yeah,
the families are going through it as well. And it just brightens the whole family's lives. It's incredible.
it does. Yeah. That's like, I spoke at Marion High School. There was 4 years ago, we did a room for one of their students who had a brain tumor. So, and the kids don't forget that. They don't forget how you help somebody. They are like, they don't, teens do have a steel trap for a mind because they don't forget stuff. They may forget to clean the room or whatever, but when it's something really important to them, they'll never forget it. And it makes an impact. And the we've had so many fundraisers over the years because of somebody's family member was forever changed by something that Wish Upon a Teen did.
Mm.
That's a huge component.
So, where does Wish Upon a Teen go from here? I know it's grown and evolved so much, Michelle, from when you started it, and then Nancy, you came on board, and both of you, I think, could tell so many stories about the evolution of Wish Upon a Teen. But where do you go from here? I guess in your dream of dream world, how do you hope that Wish Upon a Teen grows and goes from here? And what are some things you guys are working on?
Well, Nancy's got just so many things happening. I can speak on, we're
What
very
about the LA stuff? That's exciting.
Yes, we just got word a few weeks ago that we're going to bring a prom to Los Angeles, and it's going to be a homecoming prom. So it'll be in the fall, so it'll have its own identity. We are partnering with BMO, the bank, and LAFC, which is one of the two MLS soccer teams here in Los Angeles. And we're going to hold prom at BMO Stadium, the homecoming prom, and we're in the work that we're starting the process of planning. And we have a wonderful partnership with LAFC and now BMO. And so we're really, really excited to launch that later this year.
It'd be awesome.
It's going to be incredible.
It's
Kate, are you in
amazing.
the Detroit area?
I am right in the
All
city of
right, you know
Detroit.
what? You're not getting out of this. You're
No.
coming to prom, but you're going to come and
Yes.
design a room with me. Wouldn't you
Yes,
love
girl,
that?
I would love to. I would love
Okay,
to.
when I get a referral and where do what are you around Metro Detroit?
Yeah, I live in the city. Yeah,
Okay.
in the
You're
city
you're
of
There you
next on
go.
my
Detroit.
list.
Ready,
You're next on
ready.
my list. I'm gonna say, hey Kate, I got a room I'm doing, and
I'm here
you want to
for it.
come and you can meet me there, and
Oh my gosh, I would love it.
you will be forever changed.
Oh, I would love it.
You will.
No, and also like your organization is like touching my heart in so many different ways. And I, not to make it about me, but I was hospitalized many times as a little kid. I have a rare immune deficiency called Job syndrome. So I was in University of Michigan all the time, and I would always be put in the cancer unit for kids because part of it's an immune deficiency. So they were always
Mhm.
worried about germs and all that kind of stuff. And my youngest sister has the same thing, and it's like just I know what it feels like to be a kid and be in the hospital and be experiencing all the things that your teens are experiencing and the families. And even now that I'm an adult, we share stories we talk about with my own family, things that they were
Yeah,
experiencing and the helplessness that my mom felt, right? And it's like it just can change these kids' lives, but the ripple effect of it is just incredible,
it's
that it
huge. It's
changes their
huge.
lives forever. They'll
It
never forget
does.
it, like you said. And same with the families and same with others. It's like, it's just really incredible. But I would love to come and design a room with you. And
Okay.
yeah, I would love it so much. So
Yeah, maybe we'll do it at Beaumont, because one of our long teens, Molly, who went through cancer 3 times, is now like oncology nurse there, peds nurse. And
wow.
I don't know if she was working the days or the midnights, but she's coming to the thing. But we went to her wedding in September. I mean, it's just those moments that it's like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And a couple of other teens have graduated college and gone on to do amazing things. And if they didn't go to college, but they're just loving life, and they're, even the kids, like I said, it's not going to college, but they're succeeding what they want to do. To me, that's just incredible. And we're partnering with the Michigan Panthers, which is the UFL football team, and their home opener is tonight at Ford Field, and they have pretty much adopted Wish Panettone as their charity. But the big thing is on May 4th, which would be great to kind of help get the word out. May 4th, a proceeds of each ticket is going, and it's a Star Wars theme, May 4th, haha.
May the
And
fourth be with
it's,
you.
yeah, there you go. And so it's like a noon game. It's at Ford Field, and they want 25 of our kids on the field for the national anthem. And then the one boy that we did his room in Michigan Panther stuff, they want him to deliver the ball to the captains. And I'm like, sports is an equalizer too. They love to go to sporting events because, you know, they're always sitting in a doctor's office. They're always in the hospital. Their family never has a normal moment. And when they go to a Tigers game, which we do, they go to a sporting event or something, it takes their mind off of all that, you know, stuff that brings them down. And I love to watch it all evolve.
Yeah. Well, and we were joking about it in the hospital actually this morning. We were like, it's so boring. Like, it's so boring in here. And like, there's nothing to do. They have TVs, but that's like it. It's like there should be some sort of entertainment. And so I can only
Yeah.
imagine, like, yeah, just pulling these kids out for prom or
Mhm.
cool sporting events or just anything that like adds a little bit of like color and fun to their lives is just game changing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then they feel like they're not forgotten about. They love when the high school kids get involved. They love that because they're like, wow, someone still thinks I'm cool. Like, even though I haven't been in school, they still, I'm still relevant, and I love it all.
Every day, women and girls are changing the world, lifting up their communities, and making a difference. At One Girl Revolution, we are dedicated to highlighting the stories of world-changing women and girls to inspire the world. But we can't do it alone. This year, we're celebrating 6 years of telling these world-changing stories, and we need your help to keep it going. Become a monthly donor by giving just $6 a month in honor of our anniversary. Every single dollar fuels our mission, keeping the podcast going, expanding our reach, and making sure these voices and these stories are heard far and wide. If you believe in the power of women's voices and their stories, if you want to be a part of the revolution, donate today. Go to onegirlrevolution.com/donate and be a part of the revolution. So for people that are listening, I know we talked about, time, talent, and treasure. There are so many different ways that people can get involved in the work that you're doing. But what are some ways that people can get involved and support the work that you're doing?
Nancy, I'm going to let you take this. You
Okay,
have
yeah,
your
Nancy, I'll pass it over to you.
It's $300 to sponsor a room, which is very affordable and very doable. You can donate. We're looking for, sponsors for prom. We're looking for raffle items. We do a free raffle. The kids love it. At prom, we are looking for stuff to go in the gift bags for prom. We're looking for people to, I have to be very careful of who can go in the hospital because the hospital has guidelines. But, the biggest thing is sponsoring rooms and helping sponsor proms. And, if you have like a opportunity for an experience, like box seats at a sporting event, call me. I'll find somebody in an hour, one of my teens to go. Or the Jonas Brothers. I forgot about this. Last Saturday night, I went to an event. One of our girls, Megan, her family belongs to an Eagles club, which is like an Elks club, and they've been raising money all year. So they asked if we would come to the luau on Saturday night, and it's in Roseville. It's just blue collar, salt of the earth people, who have been busting their butts all year to raise money for us because we helped their daughter Megan when she had brain cancer. And now she's graduate. She got her master's from Michigan. I mean, you couldn't love this girl more. And she said she was talking about the time we all went to the Jonas Brothers concert, and I totally forgot. Like Trick, who's a rapper in Detroit, does so much for Wish Upon a Teen, and they had tickets. He got us like 6 tickets, and it was like 3 hours before the concert. I'm like, all right, I'm making this work. I'm making this work. I'm making this work. Who loves the Jonas Brothers? So Hope and I went. And then another girl went, and I had all their parents drop them off to me. So I was in charge of all these girls who, one, Megan was, going through chemo. There was, and Elizabeth had a IV bag, and another girl had just finished chemo. So it was all of us. But I remember that night, my husband came and picked us back up at the LCA, and we drove. I promised the girls I would get them home. Little did I know what that all entailed. Two of them got picked up. The four of us were on a mission. So it was me and Hope, and my husband picked us up. We drove Elizabeth home all the way to Grosse Pointe. And then Megan, she was a sophomore at Oakland University. We had to go all the way out to Rochester and drop her off at the dorms, but I was not going to let that. We didn't get home till 2:30 in the morning, and she goes, I remember you driving me back to the dorm. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. So, because I never want these kids to miss out. So,
Yeah, well, we can all do something. And I'm thinking about even like corporate sponsors for
oh yeah,
prom or for events that you're doing. We can all do something. And I
absolutely.
think a lot of times businesses, maybe they're not asked, but also like they don't think about it. And it's like we can all do
Mhm.
something. And individuals, right? Like a family or a Bible study or a book club could all come
Yep.
together and say, let's raise $300 to do a room, or let's put together a basket for the raffle.
Hmm.
We can all
Oh
do
yeah,
something. And those experiences are so great too. Like if somebody has like an escape room, or I mean, I'm like all the random things that
right.
people
But it
people
is,
do
but it's
nowadays.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's
um
all about coming up with ways to normalize their environment,
Right. Yep.
and their lives during such,
And they
you
have
know,
normal time.
very
Yeah.
difficult times. And what does that look like? I mean, because we take a lot of that stuff for granted. So it's just even going, somebody, donating a movie theater space so that they can go and see a movie with their friends and family because they can't be around the general public because they have a low, count. Their immune systems are low. So, it's very simple little things, or donating. How many times, Nancy, do we need to send an Uber to go pick up kids for prom?
Oh yeah.
Things like that. So, an Uber ride, which, is $30, $40. And
Yeah.
we tend to take all of that for granted, right? We don't think twice about getting ourselves an Uber or getting us or a friend a Starbucks card. Well, to these kids, that's
Yeah.
super normal, right? You go to Starbucks with the teens. I mean, you can't go to a Starbucks at 3 o'clock in the afternoon any day of, school week because it's all teenagers. Well, giving them that, a gift card at prom so they can go to Starbucks or their parents can go get them one, it just means the world. And it's just the really simple, simple things and getting
It
creative.
is. And we're so proud of, what we raise. I mean, we're at it's a grassroots, it's a grassroots, we give so much back into our program. Very small amount comes to any administrative costs at all. And so I'm really proud, that, we may be small, there's a lot of big nonprofits there that spend a lot of money on, administrative costs, and they still get a lot of donations. And it's like, here we got boots on the ground, and, we're making such a difference. And it's such a turnkey how, they design, Michelle, they design my room. I mean, it's so turnkey. Anybody can, sponsor a room. And then if they can't go because guidelines in the hospital, I send them pictures, of the room that they sponsored. And it's a wonderful thing. But I said most of I would say 70% of our people who give back know someone who's been touched in the program, made a difference for them.
Nancy, I'll ask you this question. For people that are listening, if they know a teen who might be in the hospital right now, or they might want to refer someone, or maybe a family that one of their teens is in the hospital right now, how can they get their teen as a part of your program?
They can email me at nancy@wishuponateen.org. And then I kind of do the legwork to make sure it's, the guidelines, this patient is appropriate, because you can't just show up at a hospital. I've got to go through all the steps. But oh yeah, I've had parents, I've had teachers, I've had, their friends, and so yeah. Yeah,
that's great. Well, I will put the website, all the social media links, so people can easily get in touch with you all. I always say that the free and easy way to support any organization is just to follow and share. Yeah. So it's like just follow and share, and you never know who might see it too. Like maybe if you're listening and you don't know a teen who is in the hospital right now or just going through a difficult time, but somebody that follows you might. So like share it, because the more that we share, it's going to spread the message, and also other people are going to want to get involved and donate and support the work. So question for both of you, and I'll give you time to each answer it separately. You're both so inspiring to me, and the work that you're doing is just so incredible. But if you could get to the very root of why you do what you do, what the driving force is, because I know you're doing amazing work, and there's most days it's just so joyful, but you're also seeing these teens go through really difficult situations, and also you're losing teens. I know you shared a couple of stories like that, where it's like the last prom that they went to, or the last event that they went to was the prom. And so it can be really difficult and really heartbreaking. If you could get to the very root of what your driving force is, why you do what you do every single day, what would you say that root is? Nancy, we can start with you.
Oh, I was looking at Michelle. I was doing that stare down. It's easy for me. It was my daughter, Hope. I want you to meet her someday, Kate, and you'll know exactly why.
Definitely.
But she's had 119 surgeries, and she is the most genuine, kindest soul in ever. But so many people through the years, even when I was pregnant with her and I knew she was going to be born with spina bifida, have done so much for our family and for her. So this is my way. Like I said, I'm not a rich person at all. So I give back because so much had been given to Hope. And, like Michelle's part of our family. I mean, Wish Upon a Teen gave us back in droves of, just of experiences, but of making a difference for other people. And I mean, you ask my kids to talk about Wish Upon a Teen, they'll go on and on and on and on and on. All my kids, like they will. They can tell you, and they know the teens by names, and they just, and if they see them at a prom event, the kids will go, "Hey, Kathleen, how's Michigan State? How are you doing?" I mean, they build, friendships when they see each other. But Hope was my driving force. So,
What about you, Michelle?
My driving force is perspective. I think it is very easy for us to, be busy in life and forget, oh my gosh, I've got to do this, or you're quote unquote trying to keep up with the neighbor or your best friend, and oh, I've got to go on vacation, I've got to do this, and my kids have got to be involved in this and that. And I think perspective is so important, and reminding ourselves what is truly important. And that was something very important for me leaving the hospital and starting my own family, is to ensure that I and my family kept our feet on the ground, no matter what, whether it's we're having amazing things happen to us and keeping that perspective and remembering not everyone is this lucky. And at times when we've had very difficult situations, to go, well, wait a minute, perspective again. Is it really bad? I cannot tell you how many times we've used hope in our family as a, is it really that bad? Because would hope complain about that? And my kids know the minute I bring hope into a conversation, they just, never mind, I'm fine. And they limp along or they muster up to do what they need to do because they know hope would never complain. And hope stands for a lot of what the whole mission of Wish Upon a Teen is. And so I just think perspective, and so the good and the bad. And hope is a lot of times in my family, the perspective of, is it really that bad?
Right.
Did
No,
you
I
have
agree with you.
119 surgeries? I
And
know
hope,
that
hope,
hurts.
hope is such a one girl revolution. And I love that she's so
Is.
much a part of Wish Upon a Teen, and she's been so much a part of this episode. And I can't wait to meet her. So we'll have to make that happen, Nancy.
Yeah,
But
you will.
so
That would be awesome.
obviously she's a one girl revolution. Both of you, each of you are one girl revolutions, but who's a one girl revolution in your life? Who's a woman or girl that inspires you outside of that? Michelle, I'll start with you.
Um, it's gone. I have a lot of women who have inspired me. One is sitting on this screen. She's inspired me a lot and been a support through a lot of my life, through the ups and downs. And it's someone I know that I can always call and count on, even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Back at you.
So yeah, I do have another woman who has come into my life few years ago when I returned to California, and she is a true one woman revolution. Her name is Rebecca Rothstein, and she is just truly someone who is still working in her 70s and has 4 boys, 10 grandchildren, and makes time for family. And I think it's almost she's my Nancy here, because she's exactly what Nancy was to me when I was in Michigan. And it's really just very interesting that way that we gravitate towards a certain type of person. And I'm not sure I even put that together until just now as I was speaking of Rebecca, because it's really like speaking of Nancy, in the way, all of Nancy's kids were my babysitters for my children. So it's a very, Nancy is family first, and it's taught me a ton, taught me so much. And I think I'm the mom I am today because of her and her 9 children. I know 7 of them there. And the only reason I don't know 2 of them is because they didn't live in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
They had already grown and gone off. But there are 7 that I know inside and out, and am very proud to be part of that. And they've all impacted me immensely, in some shape, way, or form, and my kids.
That's so beautiful. I love sitting on this call with both of you. I just feel it's such a powerful partnership between the two of you. And even though now you live states and states away, it's just, to me, it's magic. I think Wish Upon a Teen creates magic for all the teens, but I can see why, because I'm spending time with the two of you. Nancy, who's a one girl revolution in your life?
I have a couple too, but Michelle taking a chance on a mom of 9, you know, 11 years ago who just her daughter was very ill. But, she saw something in me that I didn't probably see in myself at the time, and knew that I had, I could, do it and make a difference with this nonprofit. And it's made such a huge difference for me and my family. I don't even know how I could, you always see these little things, Mel Robbins or whatever, tag somebody who means the world to you. And she's always the first person I think of because of what she started and what I've been able to do. It would have because of her, and another person is my mom. She's been dead since 2018. And she was just a, 5 foot, little thing, but a driving force. And, just always, she'd be really proud I had lipstick on today and I have pearls on today. Party in the top. I sweatpants. But yeah, so she she lost my dad. He was 67 years old. So she was alone for about 20 years by herself and did amazing, and just kept powering through. And so just there's just a lot of people, but I'm telling you, the one top up there is Michelle. So
A big part of One Girl Revolution, and I think one thing that sets us apart from so many other, women's organizations or groups, is that we, instead of just being self-focused, we're always like looking outward and shining a light on the stories that we're like, hey, this woman is amazing. She's a one girl revolution, or this girl is amazing, doing incredible work. And I love that question because really it's having you look out too. It's like, let's shine a light. Let's continue the ripple of the light going from you to
absolutely,
other, because, none of us are an island. We need community. We need support. And even
absolutely.
though someone might found an organization, Michelle, you need the support. And like having Nancy take it. All right, let's amp it up. Let's do more. And it's just so incredible to see how far Wish Upon a Teen has gone. And I can't wait to continue to follow everything that you're doing. I can't wait to support in any way that we possibly can and promote what you're doing. And I'm so grateful now to have you both a part of this sisterhood, One Girl Revolution.
Absolutely.
But before I let you go, I want to ask both of you. I always end this podcast on one question. So I would like to ask you, if you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, what would it be? And whoever wants to start can start, because I know it's a big question.
I'm just a big proponent with women is not to compete. We're not put on this earth to compete with one another. We're put on this earth to support each other and to lend a hand. And I know both Nancy and I feel everything takes a village, whether it's,
Anything. Yeah.
anything that you're doing in life. But I just I'm raising my one daughter. I only have one. Nancy's got seven, but I'm raising my daughter to just really be there, listen to each other as women. We can be so much more powerful together than against and fighting for. There's enough room on this planet for all of us to succeed and to have everything that we want. And so I just put out your hand and listen.
I would say also believe in yourself. That, sometimes we're our worst critic.
Oh,
And don't be, I wish I would have told when you say tell your younger self, but that's what I would say, to believe and just, go for it. And it'll always, it works out. It does. But, don't like, don't be mean to people along the way. You can believe and you can, work hard for what you want, but do it the right way, and that's what I've instilled in my daughters. So,
yes, you
and
have.
hopefully they will instill that into their children as well.
Oh, they will for sure. I think that we are all we are like sponges growing up, right? And
Yep,
so
we are.
when we learn that and we see that, and I see that in both of you, you're such examples of your messages and what you shared throughout this podcast. And I'm so grateful to know you. But Michelle and Nancy, thank you so much for being on the One Girl Revolution podcast. And thank you for all the incredible work that you do.
Thank you. And I will get in touch with you to design a hospital room.
Woohoo! Woo!
I
Let's
can't
do
wait to see
it.
the photos.
I know it'll be good. It'll be good. It'll be good.
For more from One Girl Revolution, to listen to all of our podcast episodes, watch our Emmy-nominated documentary series, follow us on social media, donate to our nonprofit organization, and more, please visit onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com.